Just getting back into the hobby after 7 years off, and I'm bored to tears with shades of elves. I've become hooked on the idea of anthropomorphic races. How do I pitch this without snagging all the yiffers and degenerate furries?
Alright, so the basic problem here is that you can't. They can smell an opportunity a mile away. But there are things out there which will cater to your preference. Jade Claw and Iron Claw, Chronicles of Ares. There are, in particular, weirdly, games that fixate upon very small furry creatures. I can't really recommend the Mouse Guard game because it's based around Burning Wheel, which, while simple at its heart, becomes monstrously complicated. So I can't really recommend that for the rules, but for the setting. I think there's Mouse Ritter, which is mice again as well. But for anthro races and anthro gaming, I think you're really primarily looking at, say, something like Chronicles of Ares, or you're looking at Jade Claw and Iron Claw. So those are your sort of mainstream options, but there are plenty of furry and anthro games out there. But as I say, you can't really avoid the yiffing and nonsense. I guess one way you could minimize it would be to focus more on it being an anthropomorphic game, like maybe Rock and Roll or something, rather than calling it a furry game. There is a more serious side to the term anthropomorphic as compared to furry. You can look at something like Brian Talbot's Granville, or Granville, I guess it's supposed to be pronounced, which is a sort of steampunk Sherlock Holmes badger, but that's all taken quite seriously. And that's comic books, but it would make a good basis or setting for this sort of game. So that might be something you might want to look into reading as inspiration on how to go about things in a more serious way that incorporates the whole anthropomorphic thing without indulging the Doug Winger side of the internet. But you've set yourself a somewhat difficult task there, I think, in wanting to use these things, but also wanting to avoid the very stuff that has made it so popular to such a large number of people. But the way I would deal with it is I would emphasize the seriousness, especially if I'm looking to recruit players into the game, and that's how I would go about it.